Hi, beloveds. This is me, Tessa Sophia, coming to you from Bali. And today I'm going to introduce you to my dear friend, a very special soul, a guiding light on my path and on the path of many in these times. Her name is Helen Quail. I've known her for about 3 years. And during this time, her presence, her devotion, and her service has impacted every single area of my life. And this is why I feel called to introduce Helen to my community and to, with great joy, help spread her message, her transmission, and her energy in the world. We live in times of great uncertainty and change. And in these times, as a humanity, as a race, we're all being called to surrender deeper into the unknown. And this process of surrendering, this lifelong process of surrendering, continues to bring in many initiations on our path. And I've just been very inspired by how Helen has navigated these initiations in her own life with such gentleness and grace. And to me, she truly embodies that living in the infinite mystery and at the same time being in grounded presence here on earth. She embodies her divinity and her soul essence with a level of purity that is really rare to find in these days. So in a moment, I'm going to invite you to drop into our conversation, and to make the most of this listening, I invite you to give your full presence to this and really receive her transmission, which is a healing blessing in itself.
Would you actually like to speak a little bit about your experience of this passage that we're in currently? Because I don't know, about a week ago, I felt like the whole cosmos just really opened and expanded, and my body has been going through so much this last week, and really coming to this place where I don't know where I begin and I end, and simultaneously, like, the call to come deeper into the body just continues to call me.
We're such multi-level beings, so there is a level of commonality in consciousness, and then also we've got our unique dance, and yet there are these waves. This year is amazing. It's amazingly powerful and challenging, and for me, there's such a huge theme of clarity, and so, sometimes our timelines really synchronize with our community, with our tribe, and we're really seeing these reflections. Like, I see both. I see and feel a lot of us really being called into the nurturance of the cosmic womb, to slow down, to come and to trust the flow. And, that can express as, Jeff Foster talked about sacred exhaustion, or stuff going on in the physical level that are encouraging us to just step back from that aspect of the matrix even more. So that's happening, and simultaneously there's like phenomenal openings cosmically, and I was feeling both at the same time. As the body was going through so much, there's just like such an inpouring of just pure cosmic consciousness. The full moon is tomorrow. I don't know if it's today for you. I'm not sure what the time's on, and the words that come, I'm just going to say, I don't know how to describe it, and then the words that are coming are pregnant pause. I was talking today about the whole life journey being like labor, that it's not linear. We have these waves and then the pause, like the breath, the pause between, and waves where it can feel like, oh my God, I'm going to die. and then these waves of like bliss, and then the true quietness. And I sense imminent birthings that we'll each connect with in our own way. And I sense that literally coming through, and at the same time there's it's hard to put it into words, not so much stillness as, and it's not a pause in the sense of that things not moving, because so much is moving. There's maybe it's something to do with like the deeper dropping into the cosmic mother, into the cosmic divine feminine. There's a depth of holding in the evolution, in what seems to be chaos, in the transformation. Yeah, and I can feel at one level what is coming, what we are calling in, what we are creating over the next years, the next year or two, and the next months even. I can feel that at one level, and then there's another level, like we're saying, we can't live with the mind because it's not being created with the mind. The mind has a role when we come to live it, but it's being created from our essence. So there's a level of just complete like no knowing and emptiness at the same time as the deeply felt perfection. You know, and I was just feeling before we came on, I was just feeling excitement and gratitude. I know I felt such a lot of gratitude in the last weeks, because this is what we came for. And even in the midst of like, what the heck does that look like? What does that mean for this body and this life, like, you know, tomorrow? Or, you know, like in terms of where will I be living and all of that stuff. And yet there's just like, it's just palpable, isn't it? It's palpable.
Yeah.
And it's so important for those of us that have that connection to that truth to be connected. You know, however we're sharing that, it doesn't need to be in words, doesn't need to be in direct contact, but just even energetically, you know, through our soul connections, through our communities, just on the other planes. Like, it's like, yeah, we're doing it, we're creating it, this is what we're here for. And we don't know what it looks like because it's new.
Yeah.
It hasn't been created yet. We're here as carriers of evolution. So there is no, you know, there is a deep honouring and respect of all the wisdom traditions that we've initiated through and our ancestors, and at the same time we're in a completely unknown new moment and template.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I'm just feeling all your words so deeply in my being and in my heart, and that's the thing also, like with this conversation that we're in right now, like to me it feels like that this is like a space for feeling and a space to really like receive what's coming through, rather than like spending time in the mind and intellectualizing. And I just couldn't come up with, you know, like questions to ask during this interview for that very reason, because it's just the way that you embody this whole organic creation. It's so palpable, and it's like when I come into contact with you, like that's the only way we can like co-create, you know. And so I just feel like maybe to give some context to the people who will be listening to this, it would be lovely to hear in your own words how you would describe your path of devotion and what it is that you are here to like embody at this time, and in your role, in your own words.
Thank you. You know, up until this point in my life, in this life, I haven't really had the words, and I still don't have the words but I have the knowing more and more. Like I'm feeling it in my belly as we're here. You know, it's like as the embodiment is deepening, then the pure connection with language to express that becomes clearer. Yeah. My role is very simple and very pure. In many ways, it's not about information. It's not about knowledge. It is literally about embodying a transmission, and the essence that comes through this is intimately of the cosmic divine feminine. And even those words don't feel right, they don't feel like the right words, but they're the best that I have at this moment in time. And the sacred child at the heart of my, I'm going to use the word construction, I don't know why, as divinity incarnating, is the hieros gamos divine union between masculine and feminine, and the birthing of the third energy, the divine child. That's at the very heart of what I carry, and in that so is the wounding, the separation, the perceived separation, and the bringing to wholeness of that as a portal, as a pathway, as a channel for the divine feminine cosmic consciousness to land and anchor and spread and evolve on and through this planet. And it goes beyond the planet, because, you know, we know everything is interconnected. So whatever sphere we're working within, in our family or community or globally, there's always other levels. There's always, and we all have, you know, different orientations. And I've known for quite a long time that my role was to encompass multiple levels through a deep embodiment in this realm. So my soul chose to play the role of mother to 5 beings, very different beings, including one through sacred adoption. And none of this was in the plan of the personality. And I've got deeper and deeper in my understanding around all of this over the years. So it started when I was very young, and I was on my own, and my daughter came in, who is literally an angel. She has profound disabilities, to put it in simple language. She's completely awakened in her heart. And I became a mother at the age of 18 to her, and she was a huge doorway to bring me from the mind into the truth of what this life is about. She doesn't speak, she's just pure love, energy and joy. And, she really started to crack some of that programming. I was very, very in the mind, very academic, and a girl who was desperately striving for something external based on, projections around perfection and all of that stuff. And she shook that up massively. But then it took a pretty much total breakdown in the physicality later on in my 20s, and a long period of very, very severe illness to stop me in my tracks and turn me around. And that's what it took. That's what it took here, and that's what I set up totally. And through all of those experiences, I began to reconnect to my soul, which I'd really lost conscious contact with, and know that my life was something very different than what I'd believed what I'd internalized up until that point. So that's like, 25 years ago or so. And, there's different, we all have our waves and cycles, and there's been points of like super intense shift and, and Kundalini awakenings and, huge spiritual experiences, and then big spells of what seems to be mundane life or deep, deep challenge. As I look back more and more, I can see the perfection of everything. And I've had a knowing for a long time that it would only be at this point in my life that I would really come into the fullness of what I'm here for. And I'm not there yet, and it's not there, there's not an end point, but it's like that's still coming, and it will always still come in as long as we're in the body. But this year, and literally the next days and weeks, it's like there's a really big shift coming in for my own embodiment. And through my journey, the expression of what I carry evolves as awareness evolves, as consciousness evolves. And as I think, there was a point, for like 5 years ago, I was what seemed to be at the peak. I was doing international events, leading retreats and pilgrimages, and I could feel the absolute alignment and truth of that I was doing what I was here to do on the planet. And then spirit / myself said, stop it all. Stop everything, let it go, let go of every sense of identity, of being anything, all of it. Everything's spiritual. And I went into a very deep phase of shadow work, and especially looking at the wounded masculine, healing my own masculine more, and grounding and simplicity. And I couldn't be around anything to do with the world of spirituality at all. I went into a dark night of the soul, and then there were again different cycles through that time of feeling there was a new way to emerge and express, but just really giving that space to germinate and feel like it was really the deepest expression, and then quite often letting it go again. And it's only been like fairly recently, in the last year or so, that I've begun to explore again. And it's still an exploration of how the frequency of what comes through this fractal of source can most fully be expressed to serve, to fulfill what I incarnated for. And there's a key piece that I knew even long before I began to awaken. Just as a little girl, there's a key piece that I knew writing was. I knew that I was here on the planet to write. So there's an important element about being a messenger and a communicator, not only through the words but through the frequencies around and between the words. And as far as my awareness and my knowing at this point, that I'm very much called to be with groups, to hold a very simple space of co-creation, absolutely, where we come together deeply grounded in the feminine flow, and through our shared alchemy and intent, we bring through the frequencies for evolution at every level, for each being, for the group field, and for the collective. And I now weave into that movement and yin movement and yoga and music and just what feels right to really bring it in all the way. I used to do groups where like we would really like bring in all these colors, and it's like, wow, it's amazing. It's got to come all the way in and down. And as you know, you know, the breath, the body, the movement really supports that. So I'm just playing, you know, it's all an exploration. And I just had a lot of insights. You know, you were saying about this like big opening and inflow. You know, I've been experiencing that as well, and just deeper levels of realization and clarity around how, just feeling it in my womb space, that our heart and soul are our guide for each one of us. You know, and that's with total respect to all the traditions and paths. There's value in all of them. For each of us will correlate at different levels in different lifetimes. But ultimately, it's our heart and our own soul that is the path to enlightenment. And we can guide and support and mirror, but it's got to come back to that again, and always. And I've had a knowing of that and a living of that for many, many years. And even still, it's like, wow, getting a whole new level of it. There's just constantly deeper levels of the dropping in of what we've always known. You know, it's always been here, but as you know, it gets fogged over with the conditioning, with the continuous reining in of conditioning. And it's important to be aware of that, not from any sense of fear or resistance or struggle, but just that it's like, you know, we exist in an atmosphere on this planet that is pouring in all of these structures and programming. So we're in this continuous invitation to keep retuning. We can't rely on anything in the past. Oh, I had this big awakening, or I had this realization, or da-da-da-da. Great. But in this now, in this moment, where am I? Where am I grounded? Where's my attention? Where's my frequency? Where's my heart? And that's a dance, isn't it? It's a dance, moment to moment, to just keep looking and feeling, and dropping.
Can I just say that I love that you brought in more of your like personal journey at this stage. Like I've actually not heard many of these stories that you just shared. And it's so like I could just feel everything through my body, and just also feeling how that just settles something, you know, because what you embody today and the purity of your transmission and the consistency of how you show up in the world, you know, of course there's this long story like behind it, and like all of the phases were perfect. And I feel that so many of us are moving through these initiations right now where just so much is collapsing in our realities and like just dissolving, and just it's this constant surrender deeper into the unknown, like you expressed, like when your daughter came into this world, how it just like catalyzed this old reality to fall apart.
Yeah, because, you know, well, a couple of things. I mean, the feminine role is about embracing all of it. You know, so there's been so much unhealthy stuff in the spiritual world about, oh my God, you know, like just putting people on pedestals and ego and all of that stuff that is blowing up now, thank goodness, thank goddess. And also for my own soul expression, and this isn't for everybody, but for me, I'm called to vulnerability and to share deeply personal, intimate parts of my soul journey. That's my path to express that. You know, and I've written about some of these things. Again, the personality would rather have it different, but the soul movement, this is my soul movement, so there is no disconnect. And this is why I chose to embody and mother these beings, and at the same time knowing that I have a calling to travel and to work at a global level and beyond a global level, and to serve, and then well, how does that line combine? And a few years ago, when that piece came in, I could feel I became more cognizant and conscious of the level and range of my mission or serving, and it was like, how do you? But that's part of what I'm here for, is to rewrite, is to, as I said earlier, is to to evolve consciousness, to bring new forms of consciousness. I am about the future, I am about what's not been created. I come through really ancient lineages, like many of us do. But my role is to co-create birthing the new, and that includes what mother is, what mother energy is at all levels. And that doesn't mean that everybody in that area has to have a lived experience of being a physical or biological mother. Not at all. But that's what I chose, and I also chose to be an adoptive mother, and all the levels around that, and the fact that my daughter's from Africa, from Ethiopia, which is such a grounding for the sacred feminine. Yeah. So, so, for my own expression, it's very much part of the whole. And the time that I've been in Mount Shasta, I came here from Scotland about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, for my children, which is a huge deal. But in that time, the relationship that I've had with the energies here in the mountain here have so deeply been about embodiment and bringing together all aspects. The frequencies coming through this mountain for the planet are of the highest. And I keep being shown that at this particular moment, it is the most significant point on the planet. And at the same time, it's the root. And it absolutely puts in our face everything that is not true, everything that is not authentic, everything that is not aligned and sustainable. So living here 24/7 with my children is working all of that, has worked on that, will continue to work on that on so many levels. And I feel that reflected to different degrees throughout the awakening community, that there's no, like a friend put it, like there's no wiggle room anymore. Like there's just, we're in these new energies, like 11 and 12th of January was such a shift, such a reset. And we're just in these new energies, and it was a real choice point of we just can't, our own selves just won't let us go back into the old. So in the moving forward, in the co-creation of this whole new fifth dimensional and above ways of living, nothing can be left behind. Not in the sense of, I don't mean that we bring all our baggage, but nothing is separate.
Yeah.
It's not like we have one aspect of our life. We're asked to look in every corner and in all levels, as we're bringing in more and more of our multidimensionality. And as I think, that's a big part of my flavor. And the work that I've been doing, particularly here in Shasta, is supporting each of us as we open up in our own pace, in our own timing, to more aspects of our infinite selves and our cosmic expressions that exist in other dimensions, galaxies, stars, and bringing more of that into body as our systems can take it, and that's something we're all changing so much physically as we're becoming more crystalline, as our DNA is shifting. Yeah. So as of these, we're literally restructuring so much, there's pops and clicks and pains, and so many of us are like, well, the body is amazing. So as that's happening and as our frequency is shifting, then we can potentially embody more of other aspects from other realms. And that's happening a lot. And I see that a lot with the indigos and the rainbow kids and like the kids coming, the younger generation coming in now, that are just, they have more of that framework in their systems to be able to just be online with that and be in direct and clear communication. And that shifts everything. That really, blows apart the illusion of the box and the 3D.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that come up right now that I'd love to kind of hear your point of view on. And it's like when we speak of this like multidimensionality and communication with other aspects of ourselves, like how has that evolved for you? Because like my sense has been earlier on, like some years ago, like it was more of this experience like, okay, I'm literally feeling like Arcturian presence is like in my house, and it was more of this, but now it's like more of just a morphing of frequency, and the details don't really matter, like where these beings kind of are from, because it's all here, like it's all part of us and a frequency of us. And do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. That's been very similar for me, Tessa. Like, a number of years ago, like I had so much opened up, and I got like just fairly continuous downloads on a daily basis of information and contacts and beings that I was working with and healing systems and just lots like that. Then it changed, and and we've got different roads. Some people have more conscious and detailed dialogues and conversations with particular aspects and all that kind of thing. That's not my role, and I make that really clear. I'm not, I don't work in that way anymore, and it's in my understanding for a number of reasons. It does largely feel about the embodiment and the integration. Yes. I realised that, for instance, what had been my Syrian guide, when they disappeared, it was because it was me. Right. Now they were online. They're gone. I'm here. and that happened, in a number of ways with a number of aspects. So, it's part of the not looking outside for anything, for guidance or information. We literally are the cosmos. We can access everything. And so those, like as life, as divine intelligence, we create the perfect way for divinity to come on board, to show up that our mind and our system can take. And I remember, I don't know if I've shared the story, like the time when the Sirens were working so closely with me every day, really intense. It was amazing. And then one morning, it was every morning, regular as clockwork. And I was like, please show me yourself, And they were like, okay, open your eyes. And it was like this, like totally physical. And I was like, and there was like 2 seconds where I was like, okay, I get why. I'm not getting to see all this literally physically because the mind would just break. So, seeing, realization, information comes at the pace that our bodies, all of our bodies can take it. Yeah. And then healthily we integrate it. So that's been my experience and perspective. And I also feel, and this is just something that's coming as we're speaking, I feel that with the shifts in frequency collectively, of course it's not everybody, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but there is a wave of awakening, that's very clear. With that, there is a rising capacity for more and more beings to access multidimensionality. In whatever way that shows, whether it's kinesthetic, whether it's through, travel in dream time or whatever it might be. Where we are just expanding and breaking into more of what we are. And then that becomes more of our natural operating template, because we are multidimensional. We're not this 3D personality in a body. We contain that. We contain everything. And again, I was just feeling more levels of this just recently. From my own essence, the deep freedom and joy that comes in that resting in that wider multidimensionality that just feels so much truer in my heart. And as you know, when I'm facilitating, my natural place to be is either in silence sometimes, or languages of light. That's just a way that frequencies come through more purely before this language. And so that pretty much always comes through in sessions or groups and so on. And again, many people are being activated spontaneously in languages of light, even with no reference points or whatever that means. I worked with somebody just the other day who's a singer, and in the session I was bringing through codes in that way, and then she shared afterwards that sometimes when she's singing she finds herself singing in words that aren't recognizable, but it just really touches her. And I was like, just beautiful, just trust it and allow it and go for it. And that's as a yes to ourselves when we allow that.
Yes, and I remember that same thing happened to me when I started working with you, was it 2 or 3 years ago in linear time? And I know, right?
I have no idea.
And I just remember, I was coming out of this phase where I had already disentangled myself from a lot of old dogma and ancient lineages that I had been following, and just my body had taken over, my feminine knowing had taken over. But I was in this place of still just really in the unknown, and I didn't have anybody that actually resonated with me deeply of that's a soul sister walking the similar path. And I remember when I was guided to you and we had our first session, and we barely spoke at all. A lot of light language came through, and my mind would run rampant, and you were just that's okay, just welcome it here. Yeah. And then suddenly I just felt this sense of home and simplicity in your presence. And since then it's just been growing in me. And that's the thing, I've never heard you call yourself a teacher or a mentor, but it's just so profound how the way that you just embody all that you are, it creates everything is transmitted through presence. And we haven't had much verbal conversation during our times together, but so much has come through and continues to come through. And so I feel that this is just something that I want to bring up in this conversation, because I know a lot of sisters and a lot of women who still are struggling, but how do I formulate my offering, and I can't name what I'm doing, and it causes us so much stress, and this idea that we need to go and take the different trainings and oracle trainings and whatever to be able to bring through language. Yet the truth is that the healing, the activation, and our transmission, it's so simple. It's what we are in the presence that we bring. And I've just being in your presence has helped me rest into that place of just deeper trust of what's present in my reality right now. It's perfect and it's enough. And from this place, I've started to be able to, create my own offerings that just feel organic, that there's not this coming out of myself to reach through something, but this tuning into this more subtle organic impulse that arises from within.
That's beautiful. I'm glad you brought this, because I just wanted to say something about it as well. Yeah, thank you. You know, it's really beautiful. And your reflection is just the confirmation, like the biggest gift that any of us can live is to be our authentic self. And that can feel incredibly alone, because there is no one else on the planet that has just the flavor of your soul. That's why you're here. And there can be resonance and similarities, but such an important part of our living and awakening and practice is, as you say, you let go of these ancient traditions. That's been my path. You know, I've moved through like a whole range of modalities as teacher and so on, and I deeply thank each one of them. And it was really clear to me with each one, even in all of the recognition, now put it to the, or just, you know, integrate the keys and let it go. I was not to follow any of those paths. I was to follow the path. I am to follow the path of the soul. And it's just, you know, makes my heart sing to witness that in yourself or anyone. And, you know, one of the pieces I wanted to mention was being drawn, you know, like I knew, oh my gosh, 7 years ago that I had a call to come to California, and with no idea of what that looked like or how it come about. And in being here, there's a deep, you know, there was a deep affirmation of, well, I knew this was where my soul had to be. And then I'm seeing, you know, it's literally coming into the heart of the lion's den in terms of the epitome of the matrix of the capitalist machine and of the distorted patriarchy and distorted masculine. And California, birthplace of New Age consciousness, is rife with the hijacking into those paradigms of spirituality of, yeah, you know, I can teach you how to be a blah, 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 super successful healer coach, whatever. And some of it's more subtle than others, you know, but it's omnipresent. We are bombarded with it all the time. And I've watched in myself even like, oh, you know, and the body, as you say, you know, the body, the belly will tell us. You know, sometimes there's a key, you know, sometimes there is a piece, but it's to be alive in this moment now. Why am I here? Is there something really, truly authentic for me in this dialogue, in this learning, in this connection? Mm-hmm. And if it's not, let it go. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there's so much, you know, ego is not the enemy. Ego is essential and intelligent and a necessary framework to survive in a body. As we awaken and as we become, you know, if we're in a devoted path of spirituality, of dedication, of love, of service, the ego is so quick to co-opt anything, and it can be so subtle. And we have to be vigilant to that at every single stage of looking at where we are grounded in our being, where we are moving from, paying attention to the unmet places that will come up, looking for success, approval, validation, whatever it might be. And none of it is external, you know, as we were talking about earlier, none of it is external. Our joy and fulfillment comes from being source in a body. Oh my God. And getting to play and create so that we all rise. Yeah. All rise. Yeah. It's an important point. And, you know, yeah, we just have to be really vigilant and discerning. You know, like there's so much out there now that just glamorizing and commodifying sacred feminine. you know, and it's like, ugh, it's just, and you can feel it, you know, we can feel it. We can really feel it in our bellies and in our bodies and our hearts. And so how we navigate that looks different for each one of us. And sometimes it's just about really prioritizing energetic space out of social media or whatever it might be to recenter, you know, being with the mother, being just the things that bring us back to our own heart and our own soul. And, you know, having the body here in like the heart of that is interesting, and I got a deeper understanding of that's part of why I'm here as well, to see how I can navigate and I don't want to use the word, I use the word transcend not in an unhealthy way, but yeah, not get sidetracked by that. And I live in a place where there's a very strong spiritual, well, I don't know if I'd use the word community, but a lot of people here that are very much on their path. And there's just some amazing, amazing beings here. And there's the call not to get distracted into anything that is not our soul song, our heart song.
Yeah, that's such a key piece, and so beautiful how you put that into words. And I just, I'm wondering, like, if it's, you know, what is it that then pulls us, right, out of this place of inner knowing? Like, what makes us so quick to kind of like jump to something external? And I feel that there's so much pressure in the collective to do things at a certain pace, to evolve at a certain pace. And it's like, oftentimes when I'm tuning into my inner knowing, there are gaps when I just receive nothing because I'm not supposed to receive anything at that time, because I'm supposed to be. And for me in the past, and what it continues to be, is like just trusting the stillness and just trusting that I am held and supported even when I'm not out there doing something, achieving something. And like that, that I am being of service and I'm living my devotion, even when it doesn't actively perhaps look like that to everybody. And that's kind of created the space for my inner knowing to communicate to me in more subtle ways. And yeah, what's been really,
I mean, this is the reclaiming of the feminine, because there has been no valuing of these qualities for millennia. You know, so in you know, we're really going against the tide in honouring, literally honouring the waves, and honouring the not knowing and the stillness and the waiting and the being, and not just the doing or something that has a visible, tangible, external result. It's like the deep fermentation, the embryonic process, and you know, and we talked about labour before. It cannot be forced. It cannot be stopped. It can't, you know, naturally it cannot be made to conform to a shape or a time scale. It has its own pattern, and this is life. This is how Shakti moves through us. It's not something we can plan because, you know, we've got a deadline or blah 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 blah. And trusting the not knowing, trusting what seems to be no information or no sensing. There's nothing wrong. We are not doing anything wrong. There is nothing wrong with us. It's, you know, there's so many pulses in the universe and in the cosmos. You know, pulses of life and heartbeats and, you know, cycles of nature. And we've been so drawn out of that into being on all the time, especially, God bless America, but you know, it really is that embodiment of that extreme, like, and I knew this intellectually, but coming here and feeling it more directly is like, wow, it's shocking. And particularly for the masculine here, the programming is, oh my God, it's so toxic. It's so much suffering. So, you know, we talk about masculine and feminine. Of course, we all carry both of these. And So the healing that's happening, the holding that's happening with feminine and masculine, it touches all of us, and it's equally important for all of us. So part of that, inner living, inner dance, inner exploration as beings that are called to a path of devotion, of love, of service, is to deeply honor these rhythms in our own being. Yeah. And it's largely aeons of programming. Aeons of programming that just pull us away.
Yeah, and it's funny, as we speak of this, I can like really hear some of like the kind of like collective fears that tend to like distract us, and that this thing of like money as a teacher, and how that's so oftentimes the one thing that we say, but like my finances won't cut it. Like, how has your journey been with that? Because I mean, you have a family, you have responsibilities, there needs to be a certain level of like basic safety, Do you want to speak of that?
Yeah. we're very attuned, because that's what I was just feeling as well. Like, you've got this survival piece, it's like, okay, this is all, the mind goes, this is all well and good, but like, and, living in the root chakra of the planet, you feel a lot of that, and there's a lot of that here, and a lot of poverty consciousness. That really struck me when I first came 5 years ago. So, what I would say, well, interesting, when I reflect back to being stripped away years ago when the body was very, very ill, so much was stripped away, the job, the home, friendships. So there was a real dying then. And in that, like, who am I? What am I? Who is here? So that was a big cycle around some of those energies. And then into like another cycle of being on my own with the family and children to support, and no like visible, tangible safety net, externally. And so I could really see, it's intense, really intense. But I could see that it's a deeper level of initiation, because it's one thing to sit in a bubble and talk about surrender and trust and faith and going with the flow, and then it's like, and I need to eat and take shelter, and I have children to support, and these things are real, like the alternative of bypassing of, everything will be taken care of, is just like, it's just not grounded. They're real. Our body has needs, and we are totally held. So I had a really intense experience, an initiation of living that, and I'm in another cycle of knowingness, just what we're speaking about, and that means I don't know where those needs will be met, and in terms of financial flow or any of that stuff, and it's like, choice point, like, can we really choose compromise for the sense from fear, or can we choose the beacon, just that frequency of our own heart? And I'm right in another layer of a deeper layer of there is only one choice. There has to be one choice, and I don't know how that manifests, and I know some incredible beings, and I'm sure you do too, that their path at this point in their journey, and for some time, has been to not have a home, to not have a job, to not have a regular income. And these are like really brilliant, awake, conscious, authentic beings. And that is what they're being called to live. And some of us, myself included, part of my strand and path is to co-create intentional community, new frequency of conscious living. And so part of that, it feels like, is, you know, we can't do a yes but. Yes, I'm here and I give everything, but can I just hold on to my life or my home or my job or my pension or whatever? It's like, no, you can't. You know, we can't have one foot in both. We literally can't have one foot in both worlds. And I feel that choice more, I mean, starkly is maybe not the right word, but more clearly than ever. And it relates to what you were asking earlier about how we show up and how we serve. Like, yeah, it's like it feels like there's a real turning of like, that we want to serve and express really authentically. And then we're still in this paradigm that's based on money, it's based on separation, it's based on power and control, all of these things that we know. Like, how much do we play in that? And how much can we play in that and still be really in our authenticity? And I don't have the answer, and I don't really know that any of us have the answers as yet, but there are many that are in the living at the cutting edge of the inquiry. And I have friends right now that are literally, you know, they didn't no idea where they're going to be next, but like me, they're here to really call together beings and create whole new paradigms.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting, and yes, terrifying at lots of levels. And I'm sure you've found this as well, that especially the closer we come to the edge, the more we really place everything on the altar, everything, no conditions, no holds barred. We are just held. We are just held. And I experienced that through this past year, sort of from extremes, and knowing in that it's all the same, whether there's, you know, a flow of money energy or not, whatever it might be. It's like, where are we in it? Where are we in this? And meeting ourselves in it, who we are, not the collective stories. And the collective energies around survival are, of course, massive. You know, they've been around for as long as there's been human beings. They're hugely powerful. That's not who we are. These frequencies are there. That's not who we are. And when we really attune, we are so held. And this is such a deep practice to come home to. And fear's not a problem, and it's not an enemy, and there's so much of it up, but it's seeing it, understanding it, and not identifying with it. And this is part of where the healing between masculine and feminine is so important, because call it the masculine energy of presence, of holding, of I got this, holds the feminine so that she doesn't spin into hysteria, into drama, into panic. And we're using the words masculine and feminine. It's overly simplistic, but just as a way to express the inexpressible.
Yeah.
As we heal that, as we bring in the true essence of what these are, there is a holding that allows form, Shakti, to play, to dance, to explore, to create. What is it that we are creating as consciousness here on this planet, in these bodies? You know? Yeah, so the systems are breaking down, as we see it. And the practice for all of us that have access, and that's many of us, is to come home to what is true, and to emanate this, to rest in this, and emanate this. And that not only includes, but first and foremost, our own self and what is coming up through our own systems. And it's just like layers and layers of programming, and most of it is fear-based, you know, that are coming up, and we can just let it come and just meet it as what we are and let it just shed.
I actually love that you brought in that piece of the like feminine, masculine, and the different roles that they. I'm hearing my echo a little bit.
It's okay here.
Okay, let's hope it's okay in the recording too.
Mm.
So, because what I found myself when I was being called to step out of some like security structures and like old jobs and what I had, you know, that created that baseline of security, I was in that space of not fully having then anchored my masculine, right? And it was very chaotic and scary and, but it's that piece that's like now for me personally starting to come in is with that masculine presence that's like constantly here and holding, but also like the courage to be true to the impulses that arise from within to share. That's what brings the security. It's not in like the promises of outcomes. It's not in the promises of this will create financial gain. It's in the fact that I feel that I am showing up the way I'm being guided to show up. I am like on point with my devotion, and that just aligns everything into that trust.
It's an authenticity. Yeah, this is our groundedness, absolutely. This is our home. It's in the authenticity, it's in the living authentically. And for that, you know, we have to, you know, we're in this exploration of what is this? Who is this? You know, of working through the stories and getting to really get deeply curious and deeply intimate with who we are, who we truly are. And then from this ever deepening inquiry to move and live and create. And this is when, well, we're always supported, it just takes different forms, you know, but however that manifests in the physical, you know, as we are more and more in alignment with that deep authenticity, this is when the flow and the magic just really, it's always happening, but it becomes much more visible and palpable. May I bring through some light language text?
Yes, I would love to. I actually, yes.
Okay. Tuishaina remite ukia chemita aye narama ukia mete etia tache meana haya aye ale kita chuimina mi kota ain mi to ale takata chke no ama ai ne iti oi mi kia mta are ne te eche a ta ai e wata me na yete me ai na toi in ashuina ya kato ishanai ya aina tai itia nara uya tatai. So I'm just moved to ask Tessa, like, what do you observe? Is there anything that you observe as core themes of the shifts, particularly around masculine and feminine, that are moving through Bali, or that are working through the energies around Bali?
Let me feel into that. This might be something that I've been tapped into myself, like in really witnessing, like in the collective here in Bali, but has really just been this phase of the feminine and like how the masculine shows up for the feminine in just, there's just much more of a clearer communication of our needs and boundaries, where in the past, like there was just such boundarylessness that then caused for a lot of like power play and power dynamics. And now there's like quite a lot of energy in there, of like this reclamation of the true value of the feminine and speaking up for it. So I've been feeling like a lot of more expression as the masculine kind of activates. So there's just a lot more speaking needs and boundaries.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, boundaries has been like the number one topic since I've physically been in Shasta. And it's one that I'm seeing really like echoing collectively. And it feels like part of the, we the word reclamation comes up a lot, like reclaiming sovereignty, reclaiming the truth of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And there feels like there's an important piece around love that's become so distorted in our perception, in our programming, and the feminine being so, and I'm speaking generally, but the feminine energy being so written in the heart energy, there's been confusion around what love is, which has expressed as boundarylessness.
Yes.
And I've been seeing this so strongly through the mirror of my own life, and just really strong teachings around that. And I see it a lot. And the deeper realization of what self-love actually looks like. And, that energy can be, Kali, it can be really fierce and kick-ass, and it can be very gentle as well, but it's clear. And there's such a theme this year as 2020, clear vision of just clarity. And boundaries are about getting really clear. This is my sovereignty. This is who I am. I love you. We are the same. And this behavior is not okay, or this choice is not in alignment, or whatever it might be. And with that, with boundaries, we build a much healthier, stronger container for the expression of essence, of our true voice, or gifts, or whatever one might want to come through. We're not like polluted, if you like, by others' energies and expectations and confusion around that. We get clearer and clearer about who we are and what our being needs in any one moment. And it's been a great learning for me to understand more about, again, I guess the feminine way, that boundaries are not fixed. It's not like, this is my boundary, this is right, this is wrong. Like, they are relative to situations, relationships, to our evolution. But the clearer that we get about who we are and about what love actually is, it is not martyrdom. It is not placing ourselves, that's like the shadow feminine of self-sacrifice and murder, all of these programmings that come through religion. So there's a huge wave of reclaiming around that in the collective, at different levels and different places, which is placing ourself in the center of our life.
Yeah.
And operating from this. So relates to what we're saying before, and in that, setting boundaries, expressing our truth, and then comes more freedom. And comes more space, more strength, more sovereign power. So that's really interesting that you're seeing that there as well. Yeah.
I love that you brought that up, and I actually love that energy just came into this space really strongly. I felt it really through my body, and it's really, as you say, like the clearer the boundaries become, it creates more safety for the feminine to play like even more wildly, and safe to be in her, also like her tenderness in a whole different way. And there was something that I felt called to. So because you said that boundaries are not rigid, they're not a constant, they fluctuate and change depending on our context and situation. But it's like, I feel that the core aspect of recognizing where they are is that attunement with the body.
The body.
Because it's like, so my mind doesn't necessarily always, like, it might have some too rigid boundaries or, like place them out of fear, but from the body it just arises as that knowing of like, no. And then what I'm sensing that's opening is this clear pathway, like from that grounded womb knowing that, like we speak from that place without that hesitation, that it becomes this more like an instant expression and trust, where in the past there has been more space of just, going into the mind and evaluating things. It's like, no, like allow her to speak.
Yeah, and it's the heart and the womb.
Yeah.
Our heart will guide, but our heart really calls to be in deep partnership with the womb space. This is the grounding of the heart, because the heart, there's different levels of heart, but the emotional heart certainly can get confused. The spiritual heart aligns with the womb power, and then there's just no messing, there's just like, it's clear, isn't it? So like, there was a big, key in opening in my journey around really coming into the heart space, but then from there into the womb space, and then the marrying of both, which comes back up and I want to say fertilizes mind in a way, but it also purifies and clarifies. When we, in my experience, when we drop down right into the belly, we can come to the heart and we can check in, and it may be clear. And then when we come all the way down as well into the belly, we're really going to get our truth, and let that be the origin of what comes. And and that can come through mind, and it can come through clear communication. But yeah, that's my experience and my resonance as well. That it the deeper that we are dropping through our essential being into this body and feeling that, and then letting, seeing and creating and expressing boundaries and ways to live in alignment from there.
I love this journey that we've been on, like we've come from such a cosmic perspective and kind of down and in and, into these very,
And this is it. I mean, how wonderful that these are the times that we live in. This is our cosmic dance, it's like we can open to all of it. But here in this body, and it's a miracle. It's really a miracle. And I just really want to honor your being for all that you are, Tessa, for what you, not just what you carry, what you live, what you share, what you explore, what you embody. It's profoundly beautiful.
Thank you. I don't remember what I said when we began, but I just really do feel called to then maybe perhaps voice it again. It's just this thing of just how deeply impacted I've been by your presence, and how it has changed the way I meet myself, meet others, meet what arises in consciousness. And that ripples out through me in every encounter and also my work. A lot of the times when I hear individuals say, like, in your workshops or whatever, like, it feels like we're coming home, and I'm just always feeling your presence so strongly. Because, that's just always been there and continues to be. So thank you, Helen, for being such a clear mirror and a guiding light.
We're the same. We are all the same stuff. It's just these holograms of this body that's called Tessa, this body that's called Helen. We're just ourselves playing with ourselves. And just the seeing of that is such a joy, when you see it with clarity. And and I know we've expressed this, directly to each other, just the, and this is what I was saying at the beginning as well. It's like, it's the deepest gift that we can give another being. It's to mirror who we are, which is, we're all like just fractals of one source, just beautiful, unique diamonds of the one whole. And thank you.
Thank you. So Helen, before we bring this conversation and this space into a closure, I'm wondering, would you like to share for people like where they can come in contact with you and your transmissions and your work?
Yeah, thank you. My site is www.helenquail.com. Like me, it's an evolution. It's an evolution. I'm feeling at the moment to really strip it back and completely change it, and I probably will. Well, I will. But that's a way to get me in, and likewise on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and I have a YouTube channel with some meditations and transmissions, and SoundCloud as well. I'm called to really offer more in the way of meditation resources. I have meditations and Insight Timer as well. I forgot to mention.
Yeah, those are wonderful. I highly recommend them.
Oh, thank you. It's such a joy, just what we're speaking about when people have left messages. Just to know that when we're in alignment and whatever comes through this one, the energies, the words that just really touch another soul, and that just, I'm so grateful. So I will be doing more and recording more, and creating more. I'm facilitating a retreat here in Mount Shasta in the Lionsgate in August.
I hope I can make it.
That'd be amazing. It's been in utero, it came online a long time ago, and then it's changed and changing, and then I was sitting back going, is it still to be, or how's it to be? So it's not fully out there yet, but I just got confirmation again today that it's really meant to be. So I'll put more out on the website and so on about that. But yeah, Helen Quail is where you can find me, site and social media.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I just feel like just giving voice to that thing of the experience like I've had, and I know that others have, like when they encounter you in your work, it's like it just somehow recalibrates us to our own home trajectory, no matter how like our home trajectory looks like, feels like, but there's always just a deeper returning within. And that's been my experience, and it continues to deepen every time. And there are really no words to explain how that happens, but it just always, after each gathering, after each session, there's just a sense of being more deeply rooted into myself. Yeah.
That makes me very happy. Thank you. Not because it's anything to do with Helen or anything, but just, that's what we're here for, and if there's any assistance, if there's any role that this essence can give to that, I'm so happy because that's my prayer for all of us. Oh my goodness, it's my passion for all of us to know who we are and to live it. So I'm so grateful that you're here for this and feeling it and living it. And this is the medicine that we walk, each one of us, the more that we stand in this. It's not just those that we are in contact with, it's an emanation that goes so much further than we can possibly understand. It really does. So, I just honor each one of us that is in this walk and in this stance. Every step that we take to listen, to turn our ear to our hearts and to live from here is transformational in the collective.
So much gratitude. Thank you for making the space, taking the time to co-create this. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Happy full moon.
Thank you. Happy full moon.
Much love.